So this is going to be an interview for Jacob Lenhoff. First question, how did I get into movies? With the advent of HBO in the early 80s, as I told my parochial vicar one night while we were having dinner together, Michael J. Konopik, we both agreed that all the cool kids who had HBO were the ones that we wanted to go to their houses. I actually wanted to stay overnight at their houses. The first rated R movie that I saw was Caddyshack at my friend's house. He had HBO. He was one of the spoiled kids, and his mother was a drunk who used to make us cheese crackers with salami. Oh, man. And yeah, Caddyshack had some nudity in it. It was rated R, and my Catholic mother was upset that I snuck out and watched it behind her back. Then there was another kid that I spent the night at his house in Redwood City. Both of these kids are in Redwood City, by the way. And he let me watch Joysticks, which is another rated R 80s movie. And then my aunt had a neighbor in Fremont who would tape the HBO movies on blank VHS cassettes, which was illegal at the time, but everybody did it anyways. And the neighbor would rent out these blank tapes of illegally recorded HBO movies, I should say. And so my aunt rented out this blank VHS rip of an HBO movie called Escape from New York. Great flick, one of my favorite, I'd say, top 20 movies of all time. So that got me interested. With the advent of VHS, of course, I think the first movie that I rented from Blockbuster was Terminator on VHS. And then I got a couple movies in the bargain bin at Walgreens. Some Hal Roach videos. I think they had two lengths of VHS, LP and SP. I can't remember. It was kind of like a record, different record sizes, but VHS has different size of tape. So these tapes are really cheap. They would get caught inside the VHS player. You would try to adjust the tracking knob, and you'd still get static on the screen no matter what. They were cheap Hal Roach videos, as my stepdad said. And then my stepdad bought this book called actually he bought this book called Joe Bob Goes to the Drive-In for Christmas. It was a Christmas gift. And I actually used that book as inspiration for a freshman year college essay that I did, promoting couch potato, how to be a couch potato, that kind of thing. That it was promoting the couch potato lifestyle. Needless to say, my English teacher wasn't amused by that essay. And then there was the Cult Movies magazine that my stepdad got. It had Dark Shadows in there, and I had no idea what Dark Shadows was. I never saw it on television. My family never really let me watch it. I didn't even know it was on television back in the 70s. I guess I was too young at the time. I was probably 4 years old. And they didn't play Dark Shadows reruns. So that was cool. I started getting introduced to serials. My stepdad bought me a book on the old black and white serials from the silent era through the 1940s up until the advent of television. And yeah, I was hooked ever since. I started doing movie reviews on Yahoo Movies, but Yahoo Movies just completely vaporized their website along with most of my um, reviews. This was during the late 90s, early 2000s, I think. I started doing that, reviews on Yahoo Movies. Yahoo just completely wiped out their website. Only a portion of my reviews I can go back into the Wayback Machine and somehow pull them up. But a lot of them just disappeared. And I tried to recreate a lot of those Yahoo movie reviews on YouTube. Subsequently, Rambo Raff for Life criticized my Total Recall remake because at that time I was a big Alex Jones fan, and Alex Jones was promoting Total Recall remake, and Rambo Raff for Life said the movie was horrible because it said original in the title credits, but it was a remake, and that irritated him for some reason. He thought it was some kind of fraud movie. I don't know. I don't know what he was complaining about, honestly. Rambo Raff for Life. And also my best friend, I criticized one of her videos, and she said, "You don't even have a channel. Why are you criticizing my video?" She got all defensive. So I made my own channel based on those two experiences. I just said that to heck with you. I'll do my own thing. I'll be and people like it or dislike it. that's on them. Do I miss the drive-in theater, and why? The local drive-in theater in Burlingame, I've only been to a couple times. I saw Star Wars and Detroit Rock City at that drive-in, which are a couple of lamestream movies, but I never got to actually see the sleazy underground stuff that Joe Bob Briggs or John Waters talks about when they talk about Blood Feast in the drive-in theater. I have no idea what they're talking about. Maybe some Baltimore drive-in theater or some drive-in theater in Mississippi. I have no idea. But the ones around here, they never had those kind of movies. Only lamestream. So I'm a little disappointed with the selection of drive-in movies during the 70s and 80s on the San Francisco Peninsula. It wasn't what I would have wanted in terms of movie selection. If I could meet one actor and one actress, who would it be and why? Eric Roberts, because he's been in so many movies, and I'm intrigued by Space Sharks on Tubi, and Susanna Hamilton, because she had perfect breasts and bushy armpits in 1984. She was the ideal woman for me. 1984 is also in my top 10 movies of all time. What are some of the best acting performances that I have ever seen in movies, and why? What performances in what films? Seconds is my favorite film of all time because every actor was perfect to achieve full-on psychological terror and dystopian elements. Dystopian movies are my favorite genre, by the way. Joan Bennett in Suspiria was also great because she wasn't flubbing her lines like she was on live television in Dark Shadows during the 70s. She actually improved in the 1980s by a long shot. What kind of movies do you think they should make more of, and why? Dystopian movies are the best. Those dystopian movies sort of petered out in the 90s along with action movies. They should also make more movies about the Decalogue, Sermon on the Mount, and Catholic Catechism. My church pastor, Father Ilo, who's trying to turn his church Star of the Sea into a neocon evangelical Republican country club. He's more concerned about which slave master is going to rule over him during the next 4 years than he is about carrying the cross for Jesus. So I'd like to see more movies that actually talk about Catholic faith instead of promoting Republican politicians. And I think the gospel of nonviolence should be addressed in movies. I think those four religious topics, the Decalogue, the Sermon on the Mount, and the Catechism, and the gospel of nonviolence, are the four neglected areas of movies, and certainly homilies at church. What are some of the best movies that I have never seen, that I had ever seen, and why? The top movie of all time is dystopian psychological terror that I mentioned earlier, Seconds, which is a black and white movie starring gay Rock Hudson, who's also leading a double life in the film. So the film actually imitates art. 1984, another dystopian film. Terry Gilliam, who's got a great sense of humor. At one point in the movie, kid says, Santa Claus asks the kid, "What do you want for Christmas, little boy?" And the kid says, "A credit card, a credit card." So that's Brazil, Terry Gilliam. And then you've got 1984, the dystopian film based on George Orwell's book of the same name. I think it was Richard Burton's last movie, but it was also Susanna Hamilton showing off her bushy armpits, her dark bushy armpits, and her amazing pink nipples and beautiful, perfect breasts on Susanna Hamilton. I had a big time crush on her. And I used to have 1984 on VHS. I used to have Seconds on VHS. Brazil, I used to have. The next one I never had on VHS. It's called Suspiria. It's an Italian horror movie that has lots of colored filters, not too much gore, but a lot of creepy goblin music. We like Goblin, the Italian soundtrack from the band Goblin, which did a lot of movies for Dario Argento and some other Italian horror directors. Then you've got Fortress, which is the Stuart Gordon dystopian movie. Another great film that I never had on VHS, Rope, Alfred Hitchcock horror. The strangulation scene at the beginning of Rope really irritated my Catholic mother. She didn't like that scene. It's the first 5 minutes of the movie. And then you've got the abominable Dr. Phibes, Vincent Price. Can't do a top 10 list of movies without Vincent Price. Then you've got Theater of Blood. Vincent Price and Diana Rigg as a transvestite. Vincent Price is great in that one. He says, Butch knows best. And he also says, Mary do, this is your dish. We love Vincent Price on this channel. A couple of so bad that they're good type movies are Jailbait, the Ed Wood film that's often overlooked, and Astro Zombies starring Tura Santana, one of my favorite actresses. I used to watch those movies, Jailbait and Astro Zombies, on my VHS player. I wouldn't watch them, but I'd play them on low volume during my sleep while I was sleeping at my mom's house with my first wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. My Catholic mom didn't have any problem sleeping in the bed with my girlfriend at her house. She's one of these Novus Ordo Catholics. All right, what are some of my favorite scary movies and why? Number 7. Well, I watched The Exorcist with my first wife from the Philippines, Christine. She snuck in some Sour Patch Kids in her purse, and the one scene in The Exorcist that made me jump was when the phone rang. The scene came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden the phone rang really loud in the movie theater, and it made me jump in my seat, believe it or not. And then I mentioned Italian horror uses more color filters and more gore. Suspiria isn't the one that has the most gore. It's the other films that I didn't mention. What are some of the newest movies that I love and why? Well, on this channel, we tend to review movies that are before 1995, before Toy Story ruined the film industry, and Disney just ruined the entire film industry with Toy Story. Didn't stop there. I mean, the film industry is woke. If you want to see some politically incorrect stuff, you got to go prior to 1995. But there are some exceptions. For instance, New French Extremity. A couple movies that I really like are Enter the Void and Trouble Every Day. One of my Australian fans, Adrian, recommended Martyrs, which I just added to the bottom of my list today. So I'll get to that in 27 years, or unless I die first. My list is getting pretty long. So that's the end of my interview. I hope I improved on, and it's ready for upload on the other guy's channel now. Laters.